Good morning and welcome back to another episode from Tech Expresso series. My name is Rashmita and I'm the event planner for Microsoft React India. I'm here today joined by our very own host, Vivek. Hey Vivek. But before we start
Hey
today's
Rashmita,
session, I would. Hey, hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. So let's start today's Tech Espresso session. And but before I hand over the floor to you, I would request all of you to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section is open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Our speaker Vivek is here and will, of course, answer all your questions during the session. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. With this, thank you all and enjoy the session. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Rashmita. Okay, so let me remove this. Cool. So, welcome to Tech Expresso session. I'm not sure how many of you know what is Tech Expresso session, and this specific this session is the first episode of the series which we are driving for specifically for AI, and we're going to have a lot of sessions on different topics on AI specifically. Um, Before we get started, I just want to introduce myself before we deep dive. I'm Vivek, Senior Cloud Advocate at Microsoft, but I started my journey with IBM and with HCL as DevOps Solution Architect, being part of startup, which is BlackBuck as one of the head of DevOps there, and being a founder. Um, Yep. So my first role at Microsoft was strategy and investments role, and currently I'm part of the cloud and AI engineering team as senior cloud advocate. So today's session is basically for uh, for startups. How to apply AI specifically from computer vision perspective, custom vision, computer vision perspective. How do you apply it to your application? So it's an applied AI session, not really building new models or anything, but it is more of how do you apply it. And Tech Expresso series as well. Just to introduce the Tech Expresso series, this is basically for startups to learn new technologies which is coming in, and specifically how to use it with Azure, and go back and try out couple of things from a technical perspective, right? So that is what Tech Espresso series is, and this particular episode of the Tech Espresso series is the first episode of the AI series which we have this month and also next month. Okay, to to start with, today's agenda is more of computer vision and custom vision, but I want to start with the introduction to um, machine learning, right? So if you are interested in understanding what is machine learning is, and what is AI, what is machine learning, I don't want to go deep dive into those kind of discussions, because what I'm discussing here is more about how do you apply it, right? And if you're interested in understanding this, there is amazing content and amazing link, which is the Learn AI ML, which is aka.ms Learn AI ML. I'm going to post that link in the chat as well. Um, if you go there, this is what you're going to be bumped with. So basically what machine learning is obviously you have a data, and you're providing that data to the system, and system is learning from data and making some predictions out of that data, right? And that is basic artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is nothing but mimicking what human does, and that is what AI is. And machine learning is part of the AI system, which is a subset of AI. And basically it is taking some data and learning from that data, and you keep providing the data to that system so that it keeps learning it and it betters its knowledge on that data. So that is part of the machine learning, but there is bunch of other things in a whole system, right, which is deep learning and other things. So I just want to share that before I deep dive into custom vision and computer vision, right? So, as I told you, artificial intelligence is basically a system is mimicking human intelligence, and machine learning is the subset of that, which is basically taking some data and it is improvising on that data. So you're basically providing the data each time, and it is improvising on the data which is part of it. And then machine learning also is having a subset which is deep learning, which is basically training itself. You're not basically providing any data, but it is training itself and performing the task. So it is training on its own, using neural networks, and then it is making its predictions. So machine learning, you're providing data. Deep learning is basically it is learning on itself. And now we have OpenAI, which is again part of the deep learning, which is generative AI as well, the chat gpt and other things which has come in, which is part of the deep learning. So basically it is summarizing some data which has been input to it, right? So basically you provide some data, and it is creating a new content based on the data which you are providing to it, right? So that is something which is been coming in as well. So we have a specific session for that. The OpenAI session is being scheduled for on 28th March, and will be delivered by Vinayak as part of this series itself in Tech Expresso. So you can definitely sign up for that and understand the OpenAI models and how to use OpenAI and what it is and other things. So Vinayak will work with you in terms of how this particular discussions will happen. So to start with, obviously there is one more interesting thing which I just want to share is there are a couple of amazing links within the Azure where you can also learn about different algorithms. Both the links I will be sharing in the chat, so that you can take a look at it. So one is the AI learning part of it. Okay. The other is algorithm. So if you're a startup, trying to integrate AI or build AI on your own, and you're just getting started, these are the links which you would want to go through, and you would want to learn all of these things, and then go back and see how you can try a couple of things. The beauty is I am sharing one of the algorithm cheat sheet, right? So basically it has like, if you have this kind of data, what are the things you should be looking into, what kind of algorithms you need to be looking into to train the system with the model. So this different kinds of algorithms which are there. So this is an interesting link as well. So just to get started, you can go back and try all of these things. So for today's session, right, so basically I'm looking at a couple of things, which is I'm going to spend time in terms of learning computer vision and custom vision. So we'll try and do a couple of examples. We'll go and execute a couple of learn modules and a couple of code. We'll run some code and see how exactly you can bring in computer vision into your applications. So computer vision is nothing but bringing artificial intelligence to your system. Basically, either either you have a data which is a part of an image, or it is a video, or it is a it could be through cameras and other things. So you are relaying data as well. So basically, with all these different kinds of data, how do you build AI? Say, for example, you have a set of X-ray images, which is having, which can be for tumor. And if you have trained the system to identify, to basically understand what is a tumor, and identify which are the parts of the images is for tumor, and then you go back and submit a new image, and it basically gives back the information saying that, okay, this is a tumor, right? This is where the whole thing is really amazing, because it generally takes some 3 to 7 days to identify a tumor. So doctors can start the whole giving prescriptions and other things even before the whole even we identify it as a tumor, right? So those things can be brought in using computer vision. And we had a wonderful startup as well, which came onto our Scale Up Thursday show and discussed about how they are building such kind of products from a healthcare perspective to solve such problems which I just discussed. Providing different kinds of prescriptions, providing different kinds of therapies for different set of people after they have gone through a surgery, especially the neural surgeries and other things. So these are things which is being built through custom vision, and we'll go through these learn modules and these different set of things which is there. Let me go to this. So basically, this link, if you follow this link and the link which has been shared in the chat, we will end up here. So this is a bunch of learn modules which is there for you to play around. There is code, there is examples, there is all the things which you have. We'll just start with analyzing images, but we will also see how to build image classification, how to build object identification, facial recognition, how to do the form recognition, and everything. So we will try and execute couple of examples. We'll try to code some of those things and other things. Okay. Um, let's start with understanding computer vision, and try and understand basically what it means, right? So computer vision, as I told you, it is bringing in solution to the way you see the world. So as a human, you see the world, you identify a couple of things. If you see a mug, you call it as a mug. You see a mobile, you call it as a mobile. You see a car, you call it as a car. So basically you are learning it because of the data being input into given to you from schooling. So that is the reason why you can identify all of these things. Similarly, how you can bring that to your application, that is what computer vision service. And I'll talk about custom vision later, but computer vision is what is this is the service which it is provides. So basically, it is about organizing the content. Basically, it is about identifying different set of people for objects, and classifying them as these are the this is what they are meant to be. For example, if it sees a set of car, it will say this is the set of cars, these are the set of bikes, and this is what it means. And then there is text extraction. So what is meant by text extraction is basically you have an image or a PDF, and you submit this image to a system. It basically extracts text and creates a structured format. So you usually these images and PDFs are unstructured, and you are submitting an unstructured data, and that unstructured data has been you are actually creating a structure out of that kind of a data. The most important thing is spatial analysis, right? Because there are cars moving, there are there are objects which are moving, and there are there are objects you're identifying in different spaces, so you're mapping their movements and other things, right? Those kind of things can also be built with the computer vision. So if you're a startup, if you're trying to build anything with respect to the way the people see things, and you have a product which is having all of these things, or if you want to build such kind of capability into your product, these are the best tools to use, and we will see how to use them as well. So in a nutshell, um, it all sees in a pixelate. So it is very simple. Even in your TVs today, right? Even TV came in such a format, right? It was, there is a pixels in your TV. If you go very close to your TV and see, you will see small small square boxes. So that's the pixels, and that's where each pixel gets updated into binary code, and then that's how you will see the images. The same concept, it recognizes through these kind of things, and it uses it as part of the pixel values, right? Cool. So basically, the learning objective of this particular, especially this module, is basically we'll identify, understand the computer, what it is, computer vision is, and we will see how to uh, execute it and try and see how it exactly works. So from Azure perspective, right, there is computer vision and cognitive services, and within this cognitive services, there is a computer vision as a separate service. So if I have to show you, let me show you in the Azure portal. So if I come to the Azure portal here, right, so let me give a search, cognitive service. So if you see here, so I can have different set of things. Like for image there is one, sorry, for speech there is one, there's language, there is, you can see there's computer vision, custom vision, face API as a separate thing, which we are going to discuss, or Azure OpenAI, or multipurpose. So you can just create one multipurpose cognitive service which will have everything with respect to all of these services, which is there. So you can create one, if you're using multiple of this and you don't want to create different services, I want to manage it with one service. That's where you're going to use, which is cognitive service, which is there. And else you can just go back and create each one of them. So that is what is being discussed here. So ultimately you will have a key and an endpoint. So basically, what is analyzing image in computer vision? So I've been talking about, there is an image and it analyzes this image. So what all capabilities it has, what it can provide it to you, right? So one of the major thing is describing an image. So if you just submit an image, it basically describes what is there in that image. So if you see, if you just submit such kind of image which is there here, it says it's a black and white photo, it is this, it is having building, it is having those things. So this is what computer vision does. It provides you a description to the image, and it provides a tagging to the visual features. So basically you can tag by identifying objects, detecting objects here. Basically you can say building, these are buildings, these are towers. So it can add tags to it. So basically it can start identifying some of the things related to those image, so objects which is there in the image. And also it can identify brands. There are a couple of brands which is already there. So computer vision provides already pre-built model. Okay, you can also build models, I'll talk about that as well. So um, detecting face is one of the service which is also being provided by the computer vision service which we have, which is part of the Azure service, where it identifies the face, and you can provide the data and identify the face as well, or it is also having a pre-built capabilities to identify celebrities and other things, and identify group of people, identify different set of categories. So if there are 86 categories which is available for you to go back and see. There are domain specific, which I told you, which is like celebrities and landmarks, which it can identify, and computer vision, which is part of the Azure Cognitive Service, can also do the optical character recognition. So what is mean by is basically you write something handwritten, or if there is already data which is there in the image, or if you have some kind of things which you have written documents, it can identify characters from those documents. For all this, there is a pre-built um, model from Microsoft, and there is a custom way of building it as well. So that is where it is called as custom vision, and there is computer vision. And to go back to my PowerPoint, there are three buckets in Azure AI, which is um, which is the one is the applied AI, which is the Azure Cognitive Service, which I'm discussing today. And within that Azure Cognitive Service, I'm only discussing computer vision and custom vision today. But it is already pre-built models. Azure team and researchers are building a lot of models in the back end, and then they are providing it as a service. And within this service, you can also use custom speech, uh, custom vision, and other things. So there are a couple of ways where you can also use custom things, but there is also pre-built ones. Okay. And then there is machine learning, Azure machine learning service, where you can build your own models, you can bring in your own data, you can build your own models, and you can run it through pipelines. You can use the infrastructure which has been provided, Kubernetes infrastructure, and huge set of VMs as well, to make sure that you have building the you're building the services, and you're building the models, and publishing those models as well. And there is knowledge mining, which is Azure Cognitive Search, which is basically you go back and build search from the data which you have. So nowadays, data is there in different formats. There is HTML, there is PDFs, there is docs, there is in different set of things, like images and other things. So what do you make sense, how do you make sense of this particular information, right? All this data feed into your system, and how do you make some sense out of this data? So that is what been provided here. So let's go back to the one where I was just discussing about what all things, what all capabilities computer vision can provide it to you, and how you can also use this kind of capability with custom vision as well. So from an exercise perspective, there is uh, there's a simple example. We will see that as well. So I'm not sure you can see this. Cool. So I've gone ahead and created a cognitive service resource. So basically, it's very simple. So you just go here, and as I told you, in Azure portal, just search for cognitive service, and either you can create computer vision or custom vision separately, or you go back and say cognitive service, create one new service, um, and provide the details you want to provide. Say for example this kind of series, and say Central India, give it a name. Okay. And choose next, and allow it, tag it, review, just create. So I've already created it, so I already have one service with me. So if I have to go back to all services, I'm already running one service. Within that, there is keys and endpoint. So you have to choose the key and the endpoint which is required. So take a key and the endpoint, copy these both, and use it in the code. So let us go back and see this. So we'll have to run Cloud Shell, and within that Cloud Shell, create storage, go to PowerShell and we can download the code and get started with the code, right? So I've already having one PowerShell. Like you go and create one PowerShell here. So I already have this PowerShell ready. So if you just click on this button, which is here, you will be able to get this and just select the PowerShell here instead of Bash. You're here and just copy the code. Code is here and go to AI. This is the code which is there, and just type code dot. It will open a VS Code for you. Okay, so now I have VS Code with me. I'm not sure you can see. I have the VS Code open for the code which has been here with me. Okay, so now all we need to do is basically the copy the keys into the code. The code, I mean, I showed you the key, right? So basically, if you go back and create something, you'll get the key here, and you'll get the endpoint. So I'm already done that for analyze image. So I've already done the key and endpoint. So understand this, very interesting, because this code is basically doing nothing. So it's basically having um, couple of data, and it is calling the API version, and then it is using that custom or computer vision pre-built model, and this code is just using that API and providing the information, right? So what we are doing here is basically um, we have updated the keys in the code. So basically what we have is an image. So when we have this image, what is that it provides? It provides what this image does. So caption, so this is basically analyzing the image. So what we are discussing in this first module is basically analyzing the image. So uh, it's basically providing what this image looks like, right? It suggests list of things and tag and other things. It provides you the tags. Provides you what is happening in this image. And again, this is another image which is there. So let us try this one image and see how this particular code will give you. So basically we are talking about this image. Okay, let's go back to the code. So it's very easy to build. So all you need is a cognitive service created, and with that API, you're basically coming here and using that API in the code, and you have set of data which has been provided to that, and to see whether the code is working properly or not. So it's a pre-built, so it is pretty easy to um, execute. So let's execute this. So ultimately, what you're showing is a woman showing her phone to a child and some, excuse me. So there is an object in this image. What are the objects in this image, and what are the relevant tags we can add into this image? So let's go back to the image. So basically, she's taking a photo. There are a couple of objects. There's phone. There's people. So this is basically it is analyzing this image, right? So it is basically it's a room, it's a person, and it's cell phone, and couple of things. It's a store, it's a shop. So that is what pre-build does, right? It is already been there. It's not like you have built the model. As a startup, you don't want to spend time in building such kind of models which is already been available for you. Only if you are really building something very unique, and you really need to have your own set of model being created and published, and you use such kind of models. um, you can go make use of such already pre-built models, and that's how you can apply AI to your application. This is one of the examples which I'm showing, which is the analyzing the image which has been provided. Say for example, you go back and say two, right? So there is so camera 2. it analyzes that, and it's basically a woman holding a shopping cart in grocery store, and then there is relevant things which is being showed. So when I say two, it's basically this image. So it's clearly stating what is happening in the image, right? So that is what computer vision does, right? So that is what's been discussed in this exercise. So let's go back to our you know to our learn modules, and then we will see what's with the classification of the image. So now, until now, what we did was to analyze the image. Now we want to classify these images, right? So basically what we are doing is there is bunch of things in the classification, so you would use it in various format. One of the example which I also discussed was the x-rays and other things to identify tumor and other things, which medical conditions and other things, right? So that's the thing. And by the way, we're going to use custom vision for this, and we will see how to do it. Not just go back and use the already pre-built, but also you can use your own set of data, and build a custom vision as well. So to understand this, in a easier way, is basically you want to classify a couple of things. So basically you want to classify something into a set of class, right? You want to classify all those different set of animals into, this is a cat category, this is this category, and other things, right? And there is a bunch of features. The reason why you identify them is because there are a bunch of features. Cat looks like this, and that is the reason why we call it as a cat. Why these kind of different type of things are called dog families. And even though they look very differently, but we still classify them as dog families. And this is the main reason is there is a feature, there is a class, and there is a labels you can add to them, right? So that is how it gets done. So basically this is a simple example of uh, angles. These are the angles which you can see here is for these different set of flowers, and the moment those angles comes in, it identifies as this kind of a flower, this classified flower, right? So simple, this kind of things are called as bananas, this is apple, this is orange, right? This is how it is classifying the images. You provide more set of images for bananas or apple. uh, Add 15 images of apple, add 15 images of orange and other things, and you'll end up showing that, once you add a new image of an apple, it identifies it as an apple. It's basically how you learn as well. Like, you have a kid and you keep showing apples every day and say, okay, this is an apple, this is an apple, and even this is an apple, even red color and normal Kashmiri apple. You have two different kinds of apples, and you keep showing that as apple, and it identifies as an apple, right? So similarly, how do you do that in the system? That is what uh, custom vision is as well, and computer vision as well. And custom vision is basically you customize it, and it has been built on deep learning CNN models, and identifying those patterns. So I will not go into those kind of things. It's basically what we are discussing today is how do you apply these AI into your application when you have those kind of options, right? So 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 coming to the custom, right? So again, as I told you, there is cognitive service. You can create it as a general cognitive service, or you can use it as a custom vision service. And there is obviously there are different ways to do this, different ways to build this as well. One is we do have a custom vision portal, so you can go to the portal and build it, or you can use our SDK, which has been provided to you. So you can use the SDK and build your own, like you upload images through that SDKs and train using those SDKs, publish your model through those SDK code which you can write, and then use it in within your code, and to identify different set of things. But we do provide a portal for easier way to do all of these things as well. There are a bunch of things in the evaluation system which is there, which is obviously how much percentage of things got correctly identified, what is the percentage of model correctly identified, where correct and correctly identified, both of them are like recall and precision. So basically you can find the average precisions and other things. Once you reach a certain level of average precision, your model is ready for going live, so you can go and publish it. And once you publish it, you can use it in different ways, as I told you. So you can use it in applications, you can use it in anywhere. So it's just a URL and the key which has been provided to access it. So so let us go back and see this as an example as well, right? So one of the thing which I just want to show you is, um, basically what we have done is, this is the link to custom vision portal, and there is bunch of like elephants and giraffes and lion. So if I have to go back and show you the custom vision project, so this is the once you log in, you will be able to see this. And basically you can create new project, and just create a new project, give it a name saying new animals, something like that. Give some description saying the description, and I've selected my cognitive service. So it basically picks up from your account. So, and it's basically classification. You can see object detection as well. There is other things which is there. So multicast. So I'll be tagging per image. So there will be a single tag, and this is a general domain. So there is already, as I told you, this whole custom vision is already been built with the deep learning algorithm, with CNN algorithms, and the backend with to match the patterns and other things. And you're just providing the data, and you're mentioning which domain it is, and then it picks up and it trains the model with the data which you have provided, and then it provides you with the precisions and recall and other things. So now you just go and create a project. You just create a project. uh, this is for the custom vision you're building. So see, for all this, right, I'm not a data scientist. I'm not using any kind of data scientist knowledge here. I am just a business. If you think from a startup, right, I'm just a business. I just want to make sure, I want to bring in AI to my application. How do I do it? And I do have these clicks, and I can do run clicks here, and say I add image, and I'll go, animals and giraffes and whatever picture it's there. I'll say elephants and say okay. So I can call this as elephants. Okay, and all these 17 gets elephant gets uploaded. And so now what it does is, basically I have I've added couple of images from the elephant perspective. So if I go here and say okay, this is, you know this is a giraffe, and I'm going to add images and say downloads animals. This is lion. So what I've done is, I've tagged three different animals, and I've uploaded three different animals, into this system. And all I'm going to do is to train this. So basically, we already have the training. So basically, you can do a quick training or a advanced training, but I've just selected a quick training because of the demo which we are doing. So it is going to take some time to train the whole system. But let me go back and show you where I already have a trained system which I already have, right? So basically this is the trained one. You can see there are elephants, there are giraffe and lion. and there is performance. So once you train, this is the first iteration of the training. As I told you, this is not a a deep learning, right? It is there is in the back end, keep training this. This is a basic machine learning. There is a backend which is having already the deep learning system which is running. All you are doing is just uploading the content, and this is getting trained iteration by iteration. This gets trained. So it basically the precisions and other things, basically the test data which is it takes in, it is basically taking in the precisions and recall. So when I say precision and recall, is basically identifying how many were correct, how many were not correct, and other things. So if I have to go back and see whether it got trained, let's see. It's still training going on, so no worries. So let's go back here to the one which is already trained, right? So there is performance, as I told you, and there is publish. So when you train it, there will be a publish button. So when I publish this, so you can't publish everything, so you will have to go back and understand this precision. So basically, if you see here, likely to be right, then this number tells you it's likely to be right. Whenever you upload something, how many data is likely to be right. And then there is recall, basically out of the tags which you have provided, how much percentage it correctly recalls, and this is the average, right? So this is what it is happening. And when you publish it, it becomes published, and then you will get a prediction URL even before you go into prediction URL. So basically I did run a couple of predictions and other things, so we'll do some quick test. Say for example, browse from local itself and say, okay, this image, what is this image, is. So it basically probability tagged as 99.9% it is a lion, is what it tagged from an iteration one. So this is how you can quickly test things, and then go back to performance. It's all here. And when you publish this, how do I publish this? Again, I just want to make sure I can show you how to publish things. So I'm coming back to my uh, example. Oh, it is still taking time to train, so let us not waste time here. Let me go back here. Okay, I'm back to my already pre-built one before the this demo. So here, you go and publish it. Once you publish, you'll get a prediction, API, how to use this API, right? So you know uh, all you need to do is basically copy this you know image URL and the prediction key, and that's what you have to do. So you have added the image, we have done with the training, we have quick test done. So all we need to do is now get these APIs. That is what we have got. And so most important thing is to use this APIs in application, right? So you've just trained it, you've just got data added into the custom vision, and you've trained it, you've published the model. You have to consume the model now. How do I consume the model? You have to build it in the code. So as I told you, we already have PowerShell, and we'll go to classify image, right? So that's where we need to go. So we'll go here. So there is classify image. So I've already provided the prediction URL and the key. So that's what I've provided. This again does take the number, and whatever the number you're giving, animal number. This is an example GitHub repo. You are providing the image URL for testing this whole thing, not the uh, you are not providing the data in a different way. You're providing through a URL. uh, so as I told you, if you see here, if you go back here in a quick test, you can either provide image URL, or you can browse it from local file system, right? So I'm providing through URL in the code, right? So that is what we are doing. um, Let me go back here. So we have provided the URL and other things, and we are using the prediction keys and other things, and we are also calling the API in this through this prediction URL, right? So all we need to do is to execute and see how this whole thing will look like, right? So let us go back, and we have already done this. So all we need to do is to execute one, because one is a giraffe, and this is for testing purpose. We are providing image one. I'm giving three or one, whatever it is. So if you give that image, it says giraffe. So if you give two or three, it should be lion, because in the GitHub repo, if I have to show you the GitHub repo, okay, let me show you the GitHub repo too. So what's there in this GitHub repo? I'll share the GitHub repo in the chat as well. Okay, in this chat, if you see here, there is data, and within this data I have vision. Within this vision I have animals. Within this animal there is one, two, and three, right, for testing purpose, right? So this um, is what I'm using, and this is what is there in the code as well. If you see the code, it is basically taking in animals number here. That is why we are providing the number in while we are executing this in this particular script. So it is just taking in URL, this is what it is, and it is taking in the content, and it is running it. So this is just to classify the image, whether this is a lion, whether this is a giraffe, whether this is what. So all we have done is we have added um, 17 images of different animals, and we have tagged them as these are this particular image is called elephant, and we have trained it. And now you provide any different kind of image of lion, it will try and analyze it as lion. And that is what customization does. So basically it is so easy to build, that you have 100 images or 200 images, and different set of classifications you want to do, like the elephant one, like the banana, like the apple and orange. You just upload all of these things here, and then go back and publish the whole thing, and then there is a prediction URL which you have. Once you have this URL, just consume this particular API in your application, and boom, you have your application with enabled with AI. So that is what image classification does, right? So let me go back to the learn module again. This is the learn module which I am discussing as well. It is in the chat, you can go back and take a look at it. We have completed two learn modules within this learn module. This is a learn path, in fact. So if I have to tell you, so detecting objects in images, again, this is very interesting application of computer vision as well. So basically, it's very, as I told you, it's very important in healthcare, which is like tumor detection, assistance, and building safety, and all those stuff. So we'll see how object detection work, right? Say for example, you have an image like this which is having various set of objects within that image, and you want to detect what these images are, right? There is, if you see, this is what I'm looking at. So object detection, we did analysis of an image, we did classification of an image, but this is basically identifying the image, right? What is this particular image is. That exactly is what object detection is. The only difference here is, if you see here, it's in the square box. So this provides you a bounding box for each of these objects, right? So for each of these objects there is a bounding box being created within the system. So um, let's let's take a look at this in, in a closure. So this again is part of the custom vision or cognitive service. So when I say, well, custom vision or cognitive service, it's basically you go back and create cognitive service. There is a specific service where you can go back and say, okay, this is, I want to create custom vision, or I want to use all up, which is cognitive service, like multi services. At the end of the day, you will get endpoints and the key. So that is what it means, and it does image tagging. So you, again, as I told you, can either use it with SDKs, or you can use it with custom portal. Again, it is part of the training and evaluation. It's having its own training and recall, and here there is a little bit of things, because um, you know both basically it's identification through bounded box, right? So that is one of the things. Once you've done the prediction, once you're ready with precisions and recall, it is a valid one, and you are ready to go live. So just publish this again, and then you can make use of this. We will try and see one of the example. We will uh, try and execute this example as well, like custom vision you have. Again, I mean, I'll not spend time in creating all of this again. So all I'm stating is, you have traffic images. So once you have this traffic image, just download these traffic images and just upload those images within the system. While you upload, most important thing is identify. You can actually identify, uh, tag couple of things, like this is a cycle, this is what, different set of things, so that it can identify these objects differently. And once it is identified, this is a cycle, this is a pedestrian, this is a dog, and in the image it starts identifying this different set of people. And once it is trained, again, the same way we trained the previous example. um, Once we have a couple of things ready with the precision and recall and everything, you just have to go back and test it using similar stuff, right? So so that is the thing. There is one quick test you can run, and then you get a prediction API for you to use. There is image URL you get, and then there is prediction keys you're going to get. Take those keys and take those link and just apply it into the code. And again, you just not just about publishing these models, it's also about consuming these models. And how do you consume it? Through the code which is there. So you can actually try this out. This particular example, you can try it out using similar approach which I used the last time. So all of these things are available for you to try. So go back and execute this specific learn modules, so that you can get used to all of these things, make changes, add your own images, try a couple of things which is for specific to your startup. So once you use these things specifically for your startup, it is completely different. So you can see this, it can predict which is a cycle, which is people, and analyze. It provides you with a lot of data. So that is something which is there. It's an exercise for you to go back and try it out. I don't want to retry custom model, because it's all the same steps, apart from changing the key in different locations. So that is what this particular module is all about. So again, I'm going back to the module, and this time we are going to talk about um, analyzing face. So this is interesting because face APIs, is basically identifying face, and also it provides you with coordinates on these in this face API, right? This provides you the coordinates and also analysis. So it provides you the analysis, and it does in this way. So basically there are a couple of things which is it provides, and you can also add your own set of data and create a recognition, right? So there is a way to do it, and you can add your own set of data and build your own stuff. So there is bunch of things, bunch of use cases for this. I know there was a use case where in one of the cities or one of the countries that they try to find missing persons based on age as well. So there was bunch of use cases of this particular tool as well. And this is again, facial analysis is also part of the video. It's not just about computer vision, but also it's also videos. It's not about just images, but also there is videos where you can identify people through videos and other things. So there is a face API. So if I have to go back to my again cognitive services, which is there, there is a separate face API, detect and identify people, and also obviously emotions, which is there. There are a bunch of emotions you can identify, and you can learn more about it here. So if you have a startup where, and or if you're trying to bring in such kind of things into your startup, where you want to identify people, you want to identify faces, and you want to identify emotions and other things, it's very important to take a look at it. There is a change in this, because using it responsibly, and you cannot just use it as it is. So you need to provide you need to submit a form, and provide more details of how you're going to use it. And there is that's how and there is a it's a limit access policy for face API, because it can be used in very differently. So, and because it provides you with locations and other things, so that is why it is basically, it is limit access policy. So this is how it provides. So as a startup, if you are planning to use any of these functionalities, go back and create these service in the Azure portal, and use endpoint and other things. So even in the exercise, it's the same thing. It's nothing different. So you create cognitive service, you go back to shell, you change those configurations, and just add your keys in your endpoint, which is the cognitive keys, which is there. Say for example, find faces. So if I have to go back to my portal, there is find faces. So here you provide the key and the endpoint, which is nothing but my cognitive service key and endpoint, because I've created an umbrella cognitive service, not the face API service. You can either use face API service or the overall cognitive service, right? So that is something which you can do. And you know it's basically, once you have updated, you can go back and execute this code. But since there is a change, if I have to show you this particular code, even if I have the APIs and everything set for myself, and go back and execute this code, right? It will tell me that I don't have permission. So there is I need to go back and use it responsibly. So I need to provide details on how I'm going to use it in the form, and then I get the limited access policies. As I told you, that policy is enabled. Right now it just gives me the face location, what is the location of this face and other things. That's it, not the how exactly this, now what is the expression, what it is, all that information. If you need to apply for access. So that is the that's about face face API, which is there, part of the computer vision. um, Now we have two things left. One is reading text with the computer vision service which we have. So this is basically um, the optical character recognition. So basically you do have some kind of written text or PDFs and other things, or image, text in the image and other things. You want to extract those things. That's what OCR is all about, and that's what we're going to get through, right? So basically, getting so just to understand this, uh, it is part of the computer vision and cognitive service. So cognitive service is an umbrella, and computer vision is a specific service for this. So if you are only looking at this, then you go for computer vision. But if you are looking for a lot of other things within the cognitive service ecosystem, then you are going to use both the things. So the read API is available for you, and it provides it takes in the document or the image or the whatever the data you provide, and then it provides you with the different set of data. So we'll just right away see how exactly it works in terms of the in terms of the code which is there. So I have the cognitive service, we already have it, and we just open the code. We already have the code, and we just have to go to the OCR PS, right? So there we have to go and update the keys, right? So what is the key we are going to update? OCR PS, the key and endpoint is not updated. Let's go and find my key. So here is the key and endpoint. So this is the key. So we'll update the key just to consume this whole thing, and we will update the endpoint in the OCR. I'm saving this. So let me come back. So we have the key, we updated the endpoint, we have the endpoint running. So now we have to run this command to see what exactly it does, right? So basically, this is the image it is being provided. It basically takes in uh, data from this image. So there is a bunch of data which is there, which is the text in the image, right? It is extracting the text from the image. So this is exactly what it does. So let us go back and execute this command and see what it does. So, so it's just analyzing the image, getting results. So it is basically taking. So if you see, notice here, it is also providing me the bounding box details on that image, the pixelate, right? So if you see it, it is picking the text which is there in the image. So all of these things are there on the image, like open 7 days a week, friendly service, fresh products, and Northwind traders. So if you go back to this image, right? So if you see here, it is picking all of these things which is there in the image. So all this text which is there in the image, we can try a couple of more things. Basically, if you have this kind of text, which is some kind of document which you have, and you have a letter and you want to run this code, right? All this code is doing is consuming the computer vision already uh, pre-built model. And so nothing, as a developer, I have not built any of these models. These are all already available for you to use. This is quick way to bring AI to your application. So this is how you can do it. So there is bunch of things it takes in, and it provides you with data, and all you need to do is to copy these kind of data into your database or in any of this format, and make sense out of this data. So that's what this particular module is talking about. And there is a read API which has been provided. So again, this whole learn path has 6 modules which will cover almost everything Azure has from a platform as a service, a solution perspective for consuming computer vision and also building custom vision. So again, what we did now was to read text, but we never went into understanding the forms, right? So basically, if you go back and understand form recognitions, so basically you can go back and see this is a form which is there, and it which is nothing but a receipt which you get, if you just go buy a coffee in a filter coffee hotel or a Starbucks hotel or any of those hotels, right? You get a simple copy, and you want to upload this copy onto database. Very common use case, right? I travel into different places as part of official travel, and I have these kind of different set of things. I just copy this, and I just take a picture of this, and it gets uploaded as part of the data which needs to be filled in the form, and then I can just submit that form for my manager's approval to uh, get paid for whatever spendings I'm doing at the travel, right? So this is a very common use case, and we've all gone through the trouble of losing these kind of things and losing these kind of receipts, and not just losing these kind of receipts, but also not being able to upload properly and all those things, right? So there is bunch of things which is there. So, and to solve those many such kind of problems, the form recognizer is nothing but it just, you can use a pre-built receipt model, that is, which is already there. There are two things which you can do form recognizer. So it is part of if I have to go back and show you where exactly this form recognizer sits in, there is cognitive service, and you can use it as part of the custom, right? So there is in a custom model as well, which is where you can also go back and build, add your own forms to it and create a custom model, and also pre-build on top of that, right? So let's go back and see the exercise so that we get more idea on this, right? So there is simple, you create a cognitive service by creating, either a form recognizer service or a cognitive service. Now it is part of the cognitive service itself. I've created, and simple, I already have the code, I have everything running on my PowerShell. Again, we need to go back and update the keys. So it is part of the form recognizer or PowerShell code. We'll go back here and go back to form recognizer, right? This is the one which we are using. Yes. Now I'll go back to my all services, and now all services which I have. Where did it go? Sometimes you don't. Okay, here is the key. I'll go to edit the keys, and I'll go and add endpoint to this. Oh, sorry. Endpoint is wrong because I picked location, not the endpoint. You will pick location when you're doing stuff, right? So now I've saved this. So now I'm going back, and now we have this ready. So all we have to do is to understand the form, right? So this is the image which we have, and we are just running this code, and it basically reviews the form, right? So it analyzes the form and it provides you details with the form, right? So let's run this and see how exactly this will work. Okay. So this is basically how you can build that example which I gave you. So you either use your own forms, like you have your own set of things, and you add that form inside this service, customize it, and it can recognize it. So all it is doing is consumption of this in the code. So here is the simple URL to run. This is a simple receipt, and these are the couple of things you're calling, and this is the endpoint version API which you're calling, right? So this is an API which you call, and it just takes in that API and applies it. So the thing is, this is already pre-built, so this is already available for you, and you just have to go back and make sure that either you use the custom options which you have, either the custom vision options which you have, or you can use the computer vision which is already pre-built, ready made for you. Any of these different set of things which is already available for you to bring AI to your application. So this is part of the first part of the computer vision, right? The first part of the AI series. The next session which we have in Tech Espresso, which is which is coming in on 28th. We will talk about OpenAI and a couple of other sessions which we are going to drive in. In April, we're going to talk about knowledge search, how to build your own data. You bring in your own data and use the use the different set of different set of models, how you can build different set of models using the machine learning, and you can use the infrastructure which is there. There is no pre-built, you are actually building the models. And one of the things which we are going to also discuss in coming up in the series is basically about how to do the speech to text, text to speech, and other things, and bunch of other things which we have right in cognitive services. We will take a look at that. So if you have any questions, just drop in in the chat. Happy to take those questions. I know this is a long session. I've been speaking for 1 hour because I wanted to cover as many demos as possible, as many examples as possible, so that you can go back and learn this. This is the link which I'm using. So this is the one which is there, which is the learn module, which is there for you to go back and try out all of these things, use your own code, build your own stuff, use the SDKs, and try out and see how you can bring these things to your application, in specifically if you're building a startup, right? So if you have any questions, just post those questions in the chat. Happy to share those um, insights on different things you have. Else, have a wonderful day, wonderful evening if you're in Australia, and if you're going to watch this in Europe, have a wonderful morning. So let me wait for 2 more minutes, Rashmita. So before we close the session. Cool. I don't see any questions coming in. So either people understood everything or nothing. So that's the thing. So anyways, I was pretty fast on trying and completing this whole all the learn modules. Thank you for joining in, and tune in for next set of sessions which we have for Tech Espresso. There's a bunch of things planned, and happy to share all our learnings with you all. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, Rashmita, for hosting.